Well, good afternoon and welcome to Less is More Coaching Live. And today we are going to be talking about integrity of relationship with mothers. Of course, because it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of those of you out there. My mom's in England, left her a message this morning and wish I could be visiting her. But even if I was there, she's on lockdown in a nursing home. To all the rest of you, happy Mother's Day. How is your relationship with your mother? Consider that without your mother, you would not be here. You are a miracle. I don't know all of the exact scientific numbers, but I know there's about 1 million sperm, 1 egg, and you were created whole, complete, and perfect just the way you are and just the way you are not. That is a miracle. So taking that miracle, for some of you, something happened with your mom. You're not in communication. She gave you away. You were adopted. All of those things could have happened. For me, my mother couldn't put up with me, with my stepfather, because I wouldn't listen to him. At 7 years old, I was a Dennis the Menace. I had been kicked out of a boarding school when I was 6. And they used corporal punishment, FYI. That's the stick, the whip, a hand, slipper, straight edge. None of it worked. I got booted out, went to another private school, got booted out of that, went to a public school, was about to be booted out of that, and my mother gave me away to my dad. How I interpreted that at that point was my mom didn't want me, didn't care about me, was giving me away to my dad. Now that's the interpretation of an 8-year-old. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I realized I had a loss of integrity with my relationship to my mother. And I got back in communication with my mother and found out all the story about how much of a Dennis the Menace I was and how unbelievably hard it was for my stepfather to hear what I threw back at him. You're not my dad. And lots of swear words and colorful stuff that I'd learned from the neighborhood. Going to live with my dad and my stepmother was a blast of reality. Both my dad and my stepmom had been in the military. And the rules went like this. If my stepmother spoke, it was my father speaking, and do what she said. All of a sudden, the walls of reality closed in. Guess what? I started to do well in school. I had good friends. I moved to France, and in France, I didn't speak a lick of French at that time. And I went out to play with the local kids, and this time I got bullied and played with and laughed at because I couldn't speak and made fun of. And I came running home in tears, and my stepmom wiped off my tears, turned me around, and sent me back out. Without that commitment from my stepmother, I never would have become who I became. I learned to speak French. They all became great friends of mine while I lived there for 3 years. It was absolutely amazing. And I didn't start to see how amazing a role my stepmother played. Having to put up with all of the conversation I had in the beginning about you're not my mom, and coming down with rules. When I had my appendix out, I went to hospital. I was in hospital for 3 weeks. The hospital was 45 minutes away. She visited me in the morning, went back home, and then came at night. What a commitment. What an amazing opportunity. My stepmom became somebody supremely important for me. And what then happened was life shifted a little bit for me. And I started to see when we moved to America what it was to be a mother. I started to see how great my stepmom was. Then, flash forward 20 years, I went through a course. In that course, I learned that no matter what, it wasn't references, and there are references in the Bible, I don't know those, but my mother was my mother. My mother was the one that created, with my father, created me. And I called her up and I asked her for forgiveness. And it was unbelievable being able to do that. Forgiveness was crazy. It really was. I called her up and apologized that I had not been in communication for 20 years. And she said, Les, don't worry, I forgive you. I knew you'd be back. And Frida, my stepmom, she goes, she was doing an amazing job and did an amazing job with you. And I thank her for that. And I've actually called her and spoken to her and thanked her for the job she did. Now that is transformation. For me, that is an integrity of relationship with mother. So for me, it became unique. My mom was English, mom and mother. Now Frida, who became my mother, and when I moved to France as my stepmother, I gave her the name of Maman, M-A-M-A-N, Maman, which is the French word for mother. And all my cards, birthday cards, Mother's Day cards, Christmas cards were Maman. For me, I started to honor her like my mother, and I honored my mother because what it took for my mother to give me away at 7 years old, to give me away, for her, she had failed. For her, she was giving away her son, her only son. All of that I learned when I started to get in communication. And now, luckily, from restoring that integrity of relationship with my mother, my stepmom has passed away, my stepdad has passed away, and my father has passed away. Who is left is my mother. And it is such a blessing to be able to speak to her and tell her how much I love her and thank her for my life every single year. What an amazing opportunity. I challenge each of you that are listening to this, that have an opportunity to this. Consider that if you're mad at your mom, you may not like her, but always love her. She brought you into this world. No matter what happened, whether you're adopted, whether your mother ran away from your father, whatever the situation, consider that what it took to bring you into the world, that's a gift that was given to her. She produced you, and you had the gift of life. And you're whole, complete, and perfect just the way you are and just the way you aren't. Looking in the mirror and knowing that, I challenge you to thank your mother for your life. Thank your mother for doing whatever she did, however she did it, and forgive her for all of the stuff that was wrong or hurtful or sinful, whatever that is. Today's Mother's Day. Honor mothers. Say thank you for your life. I appreciate you all. Thanks for joining me today on my YouTube Live. I appreciate it, and God bless.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guide.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.